So, any guesses where this particular location is?
Niagara.
Niagara? Are you sure? Why we are talking about Niagara and why 1972 World Environmental Day? Prior to 1972, almost 14 kilometers away from Niagara Falls, there used to be a Love Canal, and that company has dumped municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, and whatever all waste, because now we have got e-waste rules, solid waste management rules, hazardous waste rules. At that time there were no. They also created a schools. They also created clubs over there. How does it came into limelight? Children who are studying in that school, they got exposed to the gases. Basically, they dumped the waste, and then above which they have dumped CND waste, and finally they built a beautiful colony which you are looking over there. So all the Niagara waste is also going there. Tourism waste is also going there prior to 1950 or 1960. But in the year 1970, all these gases got exposed, and many children got died there. So, any guesses where this particular location is?
Niagara.
Niagara? Are you sure?
Brazil.
Or Victoria Falls.
Okay.
It is somewhere in Telangana only.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Somewhere in Telangana. First answer is right, Niagara. But when I asked the same question again, you guys. Anyway, it's Niagara.
We have a Niagara.
Why we are talking about Niagara and why 1972 World Environmental Day?
Niagara from a different angle of picturization.
I think so, sir. So Google might have cheated me. Anyway, this is Niagara. Where is it?
Washington, USA.
Canada and
USA.
USA. Now, this is a beautiful picture. Many people wants to go. Somebody might have gone there. There is a dark news on this particular Niagara Falls. Now, what is happened prior to 1972? Almost 14 kilometers away from Niagara Falls, there used to be a Love Canal. Like we all have RWS. So when urbanization happens, what happens? Okay, so we are talking about waste. Waste gets created. But when urbanization happens, what happens? People start.
Mushrooming of residential ordinance.
Right. So similarly, when most of tourism got developed in Niagara Falls, then they started developing the colonies around the Niagara Falls. Okay. Now, in the year 1970, we have seen a Love Canal disaster. So we have seen Love Canal. Anybody knows about this disaster? Anybody? Okay. That means I am giving a new information. So what has happened 1970? Prior to 1970, 30 years before, that means 1940. In the year 1940, Niagara has a trust. The trust has created a community wherein they thought they'll develop a gated community over there, wherein people who were residing there, they want to create a very good gated community there. But after 3 to 4 years, what they have decided, they have given it to the company. So United States company only. I'm not declaring the company name. So they have given that particular land for lease to that particular company, and that company has dumped municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, and whatever all waste, because now we have got e-waste rules, solid waste management rules, hazardous waste rules. At that time there were no rules. So what they did, they used this particular land for dumping all the waste. Now after 10 years, they left that particular land, and again they handed over this particular land to Niagara Falls Trust. Now what did they do? Their vision is to construct a very good gated community with, so we generally see gated community means 180 plus 250 plus amenities, right? So similarly, there got very good amenities which has been created. They also created a schools. They also created clubs over there. And finally, in the year 1970, so after 1950, 1960 or something like that, they have constructed. In the year 1970, so this particular Love Canal chemical disaster happened. So how does it came into limelight? Children who are studying in that school, they got exposed to the gases. Basically, they dumped the waste, and then above which they have dumped CND waste. And finally, they built a beautiful colony which you are looking over there. So all the Niagara waste is also going there. Tourism waste is also going there prior to 1950 or 1960. But in the year 1970, all these gases got exposed, and many children got died there, which United Nations got shook, and they started working on this thing. And in the year 1972, as we see, we got a World Environmental Day. हम लोग गलती से लोग नहीं मानते ये बात. The world is also like that.
Trial and error.
Trial and error, right? But terror has costed many people's life. तो गलती से वो सीखे हैं, and that's the reason why World Environmental Day was there in the year 1972. Anybody? What is this date? Bhopal gas? Bhopal gas strategy. Right. Union carbide. Very good. Methyl? Methyl isocyanate. So many of you guys know about it because it happened in India. And we spoke about Love Canal. उस गलती से हम लोग सीखे हैं कि नहीं सीखे हैं, तो we'll tell now. तो उसके बाद में there is another गलती which has happened in India. That गलती is Bhopal gas tragedy. And इससे हम लोग क्या सीखे हैं? तो we all know. So even recently there is a movie. If you guys, somebody does not know what has happened on that day, there is a movie which is, I think there is some sort of train or
Railway.
right, the railwayman. So you guys can please watch it, so you'll understand what has happened on that day. So almost 45 tons of gas, methyl isocyanate got released, and then there are many people who died, and still the traces of the black day which has happened on that day is still, Bhopal is continue to see that. So I don't know how many generation they'll have this particular problem. Okay, so we have seen there is a galti which has happened in the year 1984. So we have seen in 1972, after even our Indians also gone there and then they have listened the lecture. In the year 1972, so there is a Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1974. That means after 2 years of 72, so we have got Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1974. And in the year 1981, we got Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in the year 1981. Now after 1984, we realize there is a necessity to protect our environment. And that's the reason why we have got in the year 1986 Environmental Protection Act. That means after one galti, we got air and water. And after Bhopal gas incident, that galti we got Environmental Protection Act. Now what does this act is all about? Simple. हम लोग को तो we should understand first the difference between act and rule. We are speaking here, right? So many people spoke about rule. Many people spoken about act. Anybody? What is the difference between act and a rule?
Act is a resolution passed by the government.
Okay.
Rule is that is internal district departments.
Okay.
Act is a theory. Rule is practice.
Rule is
Practice.
Is by constitution body.
correct. Rule
is
Theory and practice.
The rules and the act.
correct. That's the correct answer. A simple example I keep on when I go to schools. I do give sessions to school children because as we all know that they are the bright future of India. So the basic thing is हम लोग बाइक पे जा रहे हैं without helmet. अगर पुलिस वाला पकड़ा तो what does he do?
Fine.
He'll fine, right? So wearing an helmet is a rule. How he punish is based on act. This is the simple way to understand what is the difference between act and rule. Okay,
So rules
Now-
are made under the act.
that's what, sir. I hope you guys understood, right? Okay. So Environmental Protection Act 1986, one section which is important because अगर हम लोग को गलती अगर करेंगे क्या पनिशमेंट मिलेंगे मालूम नहीं चलेंगे तो तब हम लोग सुधरेंगे नहीं. So that's the reason why this slide is all about. The Environmental Protection Act section 15 talks about if anybody declares or anybody notice that they are violating, then they will be imprisoned for almost 5 years and they will be fined depending upon the scale at which they have destroyed the environment. Then they decide the penalty as well. This is applicable. Whoever the company which violated this particular rule, the highest of that particular company, like an example of managing directors, will be imprisoned.